Cool. Thank you so much for being here, everyone, today. We're here to celebrate the composers who are nominated for the SCL Awards. The voting closes next Monday, 26th of January, so there is still time to check out these projects and to hear these amazing scores. And on the 6th of February, the winners will be announced at the ceremony. So, today we are joined by seven composers who are nominated in various categories. And I wanted to start with the Outstanding Original Score for Independent Film. And up first, we have Dara Taylor. Thank you so much for joining us, Dara.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hi.
Excited to be here.
Hello. So you are nominated with a project with the film Straw. You've uploaded a beautiful clip for us as well to listen to. And I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about the project, how you got involved, how the process was for you, um, please.
Yeah. Straw, it's a very poignant story. And it was fun because, I do a lot of comedies or cheeky things, and this was just like a straight earthy drama, which was really fun to sink my teeth into. But, they kind of let me play around with, some crunchy harmonies. It's the first time I ever recorded a flugelhorn, which was a lot of fun. And I recorded in Nashville, and, the ensemble was able to go from kind of large and lush to a string quintet to kind of uh, angry and tense because it's about a bank robbery, but it's also about a single mother, and like she has a mental breakdown, and she's dealing with grief and loss, and like just the fact that her life sucks. And so there were a lot of different things to toe, in terms of where her mania comes in and where there's hope and all of those things. But yeah, and it's also a story of sisterhood. It stars Taraji P. Henson and Tiana Taylor and Sherry Shepherd and some dudes that are inconsequential. No, and no, but it was a really it was a really fun project to work on. And I hope you enjoy this little medley I put together of a few different cues.
Brilliant. Connor? Wow, absolutely stunning. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dara. I'm really curious in terms of instrumentation and finding the palette for the film. Was it something that the team was really clear on from the start, or were you allowed a lot of freedom to put your own influences into it? How was that part of finding the sound of the film?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was kind of from the tempo. They had a few different temps, and I tried to find a way to make them cohesive. So I took a little bit from here, took a little bit from there. But yeah, the palette I think was kind of up to interpretation. And one quick thing I wanted to mention was on that last part of the cue, I did a lot of recording separately in terms of the flugelhorns and the solo strings, and you can't really hear it in stereo, but I recorded little phrases separately, so it kind of swirls around you as she's entering her mania. Um,
I feel like you can really feel that even listening on this. So well done. Congratulations. Best of luck at the awards. Beautiful score. Next up, we have Sara Barone, who's nominated with Forrest Christensen for To Kill a Wolf. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Dara, I really loved that. That was really beautiful. Just enjoyed that beautiful string writing and harmonies. So bravo. But yeah, thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your project that you're nominated with, and perhaps just you in general, and how this film came to life and how the score came together?
Yeah, absolutely. So this film is a proper indie in that it's a really small team and very much a passion project for everyone involved. I kind of came into it because I had met the editor of the film, who is the brother of the filmmaker and writer, and I really loved his work. And then he introduced me to his sister, and really fell in love with the script even before seeing anything. Because it's a really special story. It's really, there are two protagonists in this, so it's really about two stories, and these two people who kind of are both experiencing feelings of loneliness and exile, in different ways based on their traumatic past, and they sort of come together and become unlikely friends. And the film is really subtle, and it's a very much a slow burn. It's very mysterious, and it's set in the Pacific Northwest, so the cinematography is really gorgeous. You know, you get these big shots of forests with misty fog, and it's actually loosely based on the fable of Little Red Riding Hood. So there's some kind of storybook fairy tale elements to it as well. So it was a really fun project musically, because I felt like I got to do something that I never really did before, which is write music that's really intimate and very folky, very much acoustic instruments, which we recorded kind of almost all in our home studio. Fiddle, bunch of guitars, some bells, piano, a bowed banjo, things like that. And the score is also very thematic. We sort of knew from the beginning that we wanted it to be really theme driven. And so, because it's really about two people, we didn't have really like character themes. And that way we chose to sort of find themes that brought the two characters together. So we have like a friendship theme. We have a main theme for the movie. And then we also have sort of themes, I guess you could say trauma themes in a way. So a trauma theme that's more connected to one of our protagonists, Danny, and then a trauma theme for the other protagonist, Jonah. And they sort of come together in a bunch of cues as the film goes on. So it's a lot of like interconnected themes, and sort of had to craft them in a way where they could be played together and sometimes played over one another. So it was my first time kind of being really so thematically driven in a score like this, which was kind of came from conversations with the director, and who was really wonderful to work with. So yeah, that's sort
Amazing.
of
And can
my
you tell us
ramble.
about the clip that you've uploaded to show us today?
Yeah, I just chose a couple of tracks from the film that I thought sort of demonstrate the palette of the score, and you get to see some of the beautiful visuals that we were working with. So yeah, yes, hope you enjoy.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. There's a lot of very intricate nuances and layers kind of meandering and interweaving. It's super interesting to hear. Is there a particular instrument or tone that kind of was a bit unexpected that you like kind of took you by surprise or that you love the most in the score?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think I'd have to say the bowed banjo sound, which you heard when we first in the clip shown, when we first see Jonah, the male protagonist, and he's inside smoking. And that's sort of a sound we came across just experimenting in the studio with actually a broken banjo that we couldn't even really play properly, that we bowed and ran through some reverb pedals. And it felt like an appropriate haunting sound for him, because his past is very much he's dealing with the guilt of accidentally killing somebody when drunk driving, and he's sort of lived in exile ever since then and has been shunned by his town. So that's a sound that we came up for that we came up with for him, sort of, and we tease it in different ways in the film, like little by little. Everything is a slow burn in the film, so even the themes are kind of teased early on, and then you hear them in their full form at the end. And so that cue that you heard there is sort of a bunch of the themes coming together. There's Danny's piano theme, the female protagonist, and then we have Jonah's bowed banjo theme. And I would say that's probably the most unexpected sound that we came across just kind of accidentally, playing around in
Yeah,
the studio.
love it. Thank you so much. Really, really inspiring to hear all of this work. And we have so much more to come. So, Next up, I think we're going to move on to the contenders of the David Raxon Award for Emerging Talent. We are lucky enough to have four of you in this category with us today, which is amazing. So Raashi, I'm going to start with you. Raashi Kulkarni, which is you're nominated for A Nice Indian Boy. Please, can you tell us about the project and your score?
Sure. Also, it's so nice to meet my fellow nominees. I haven't actually met you all in person, so or on screen. Nice to, and I know Sarah, but nice to meet you all. So, A Nice Indian Boy is a film directed by Roshan Sethi. This is my second collaboration with him. It's based off a play written by Madhuri Shekhar, and it was penned for screen by Eric Randall. So when the play came out in like 2010, they didn't realize that ever that it would turn into a film. And this project is especially important for me because the director's real life partner is the lead in the movie. So the story follows Naveen, played by Karan Soni, who is my director's partner. They've been together for many years. And Jay, played by Jonathan Groff. And it follows their journey of falling in love and, spoiler alert, getting married. And so this is like pre-heated rivalry, okay, y'all? Like it was lovely to see this kind of couple together. We don't really get to see gay romances, at the forefront. We had gotten a limited theatrical release last year. So it's about love. It's about Naveen really finding himself and being comfortable with who he is, also with his immigrant parents. So a lot of the story is around his family and his parents and his sister and her relationship. So at its core, I really feel like the film is about our shared humanity. And it's a love letter to Bollywood. So that's why there's a lot of influences from like Western classical and Indian classical music. We wanted it to be like a rom-com score, but at the same time have that heart. And so I was able to get the strings on there, the orchestra, but then I also was able to get a vocalist on there. His name's Devin Velez, because a lot of Bollywood movies have like a song and dance sequence every 5 minutes. So in lieu of that, I was able to get Devin to do those runs and those riffs that we wanted in the score. And also I was able to get Ian Hultquist, who's, who a lot of us know. He played guitars for me and bass. So that really filled out the score. And the scenes, we can cut it too if it's too long, but the first scene is a montage sequence where you actually see the father opening up to Jay, kind of like for the first time in the movie, and it makes me cry every time. And then the wedding sequence, which is a culmination of the three themes that I established for Naveen. The first theme was like this whistling theme. It kind of showed his vulnerability at the beginning of the film. The second theme is kind of like the butterflies at the beginning of their relationship. And the third theme was like their matured love theme. So in the wedding sequence, you kind of see it's like the culmination of those three themes. And yeah.
Amazing. Let's dive into it. Oh, thank you so much. Such a heartwarming sequence.
Sorry for the lag.
Oh, the music didn't lag, so that's the most important part. It was stunning. Thank you so much. I'd like to move on to Freya Berkhout. You're nominated with Ride or Die. Please tell us more.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Ride or Die is a queer thriller romance. So it's about Paula, who's like a young queer Black woman she's from St. Louis, but she's gone away to film school and come back for her family. And as she's about to leave, she bumps into her old childhood crush, and they end up going on this crazy adventure on the way to California. So it was a really beautiful opportunity for me as an Australian to try and capture homage the Western genre. I was really excited to sort of look at that through a queer feminist lens. So the film is really about the chemistry between Paula and Sloane, and the sort of obviously road trip thing of it moving forward. We have that sense of motion because of the road trip, but every little vignette, they're relationship develops. So it was really an opportunity to sort of lean into what their chemistry meant, which was for me, like they're both two people who have like complex things happening in their life. Like Paula is dealing with what it's like to be a Black queer person in America, especially on the road trip in rural America. So she's not safe and she kind of needs to get out of there. And Sloane has a very disturbed background and doesn't really understand what Paula is going through. She's sort of, puts them in positions of danger sometimes because she's white and she's used to having that privilege. She doesn't realize what she's doing. But the way that they come together is this really beautiful, tender love story. So what I wanted to do is find something where their chemistry sort of converges and creates this tender, ethereal sense of love and like something that they've never found before. So I was kind of exploring like their sounds. Paula is very much in a guitar, sort of muddy guitar place and vocals. And Sloane is very synthy, and I'm a synthesist and a vocalist. So for me, those instruments are really comfortable. But I brought in a friend, Charlie Havnick, to do some guitar because I just thought with the Western, I was like, no, I need to do something like ethereal, beautiful guitar. So, and that really felt like it was the thing that needed to sing for their love story. So we kind of get a development of that sort of flourishes towards the end of the film. So the two clips, I've got two little sequences, not film, but yeah, they're both kind of, one of them is the sort of ethereal love story part, and then the other one is a very sexy scene, which you won't see, but you'll see if you look on the SCL site, which I am honestly so delighted to put in there. I just feel like having a queer love scene, like a sapphic love scene, is really important. And I come from queer filmmaking, so for me, I've been working on films like this for at least a decade. But I've never seen a sex scene like this, and it was so beautiful to be able to score something that felt like it just wasn't playing into the male gaze. So for me, that scene is really important, but the music is also just, I mean, to go to a place where you're meant to be capturing this sense of energy and like a bubbling excitement between them was just such a joy. So I have a story about this, but I'll tell it after the clips, yeah, because it's very specific to the AWFC.
Perfect. Great. Let's listen first then. Thank you so much. I love the shaky breath in the sexy one. That's amazing.
I
Please
love
tell us
breathy
the
stuff.
story.
Oh yeah, so I got this film through the AWFC database, which is the first time I think that has ever happened. So Jocelyn Smith, the director, was I think looking for someone who was going to do something a bit different, and I don't know what tags. I think I've got like electronic and synthesist on there. But yeah, we met because of that and then hit it off from there. So it was just like a crazy thing. I think I'd got another one from an Australian version of the same kind of thing around the same time. And I was like, what's happening? I didn't know this was a thing that actually worked, but it does. So make sure your stuff is updated on the website.
That's
But yeah,
amazing.
it was just such a good fit for me because I mean, I work on mostly like dark horrors and then films about queer joy. And this really felt like it was a film that was bringing those two things together. And finding that convergence was actually kind of interesting. Like I was a bit like, okay, how do you actually mix those things? And I think it was really about the instrumental choices because they needed to be able to sort of hit each other in a way that could go in either direction. So I think choosing, like I do a lot of sampled vocals and I play a lot with like post-processing on my vocals. So I did a lot of sampled vocals, which are like a lot of the engine that's underneath those tracks. And that was really important for Paula because towards the end of the film, she actually finally finds herself. And I think the voice needed to be the thing that could come out at that point. But before that, we're sitting in a place that's much more like, just confused and a bit repressed, I guess. So it was a really beautiful thing to be able to, yeah, bring those two genres together. And there's some weird stuff in there too. I use a lot of like found sounds. So there's a scene where Paula finds this scarecrow and it's very sinister. And I used bees. So I have like a real recording of bees. I have a lot of weird recordings from the world. And I really just wanted to sort of capture the like rotten racist core of America and feel like it was kind of buzzing there. And I wanted it to be visceral. So for me, like doing experimental things, it's an indie film. I come from like scrappy indie filmmaking. So I think what that gives you is the space to explore. And this really felt like an opportunity to do that. So it was just a joy to sort of sit with the sound palette.
I love that. Congratulations. And that also creates such interesting little textures and wild cards among scores. So it's always an amazing thing, I think, when you can incorporate nature or the world outside our studios into
Absolutely. Yeah,
into the
something
store.
tactile.
Exactly. Congratulations. Amazing work.
Thank you.
So on that note, let's move on to Sara Trevino. You are here for a project, The Map That Leads You. Hi.
Yes, hello. I am. So I guess I'll just talk about it.
Yeah, just talk about
Just talk about it.
it. You knew what
Well,
question was
I don't
coming.
know if you guys have ever heard of a romantic drama before, but this is one of those. And you know what? I have to admit, I have a romantic soft heart. And for a long time, I'm like, no, romance, ew, ew, ew. Like it's not real, it doesn't really happen, all these things. But you know what? It's real and I want it to happen. I want it to happen for all of us. And it's okay to want romance and it's okay to enjoy these movies and see the beautiful side of human relationships. And there's some ugly things and there's, we all have our flaws and we all have our beauties. And so I'm allowing myself now to enjoy movies like this. But this one, it's very sweet. It's based off a book, and it was, of course, it has all the things that we're used to seeing. There's conflict, they get mad at each other, and then they make up, and it has all those things, but it's a little deeper. It's asking kind of soul questions and what do you want out of your life. This Madeline Klein character, her name's Heather, and she did everything right. She's type A. She's going into investment banking in New York, but this is her summer trip with her girlfriends in Spain before she does that. And she's just going to let loose, but kind of not really, because their whole trip is planned to the T. You'll see a scene with her on the train, like, okay, we're going to go to this restaurant this time. We can't be late or else. And her friends are like, oh my gosh, can we just chill? And she's like, no, I have no chill. And then she, of course, meets a guy who has all the chill, and and he teaches her how to chill a little. And she also teaches him, hey, sometimes life, you do have to have plans, and you can't just float through life and not make any money and not, what are you going to do? So they teach each other some things. Their connection is on a deeper level, and it's really sweet. It makes you ask questions about your life. Why are you doing things you're doing? Is it just for the money? Or is it because you really love it? And are you avoiding relationships or not allowing yourself to enjoy them because it's not what you thought it should be, or it's distracting you from your work, things we all have to deal with. Our jobs are very demanding. So it's a lot of sweet sweet ideas of life and love, and just figuring out what you want out of it and what to make of yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at the clips you sent in. Wow, incredible. Well done.
Thank you.
It's just so amazing also just to see everybody's work, and also to see how everybody's just lifting each other up. It's so valuable and precious and makes me so proud of our community. So amazing. All right, we have Ching-Shan Chang with us as well, who's also nominated for the David Raxon Award for Emerging Talent. I'm not sure, have you uploaded something for us to listen to, or do you want to just talk about your project for a little bit?
Oh yeah, I did upload some short clips that I made for Instagram story. So each one is like 30 seconds, but we can just play maybe a bunch just to get an idea. But I don't know how to follow up to all the heartwarming, beautiful music, because mine is very different. And how I started in this film industry is that I started writing additional music for Junkie XL, and this was my first feature film. So I was still in the world of figuring out my own style, since I've been like trying to pretend someone else's voice for so long. But the story is at the dawn of the Cold War in the US, and two marshals, Frank and Tommy, pursue a wanted murderer, Benjamin Bonney. and in the desert of Nevada, and I think they shot in New Mexico, and they just like it was just like a journey of these two marshals investigating. They stumbled upon like local gangsters, and then they start putting bits and bits of evidence together, and they eventually find out that there's a bigger evil plan behind all these killing and stealing lands from people. And the most incredible part of this film is that my director, Phil Blattenberger, he found I think it's like an abandoned silo in maybe Arizona or some parts of America to shoot inside of that silo, and and then eventually the ending was like, of course, bad people died, and but it's a very fun movie, but it's not like heartwarming or like there's no deeper meaning behind any of these plots. It's just like a popcorn movie. But it was my first feature, so it meant a lot to me. But I feel like I wouldn't say that it really represents my sound because I'm still finding that. And I was in the end of writing additional music for Rebel Moon, so I think some of the style sort of like bleeds into my style. But it was a fun movie to work on, so I hope you like the clips.
Thank you so much. Let's take a listen. Wow, that's so impressive. I can't believe that was your first feature.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was fun because they didn't want a like a cowboy kind of, typical cowboy kind of sound. And our initial inspiration was Killers of the Flower Moon. So, but we didn't have the budget to record. So I kind of want to make like a hybrid cowboy. So I created a theme for the two marshals, and that was used throughout the entire film. And the director just loved that theme. It's so simple. It's just like two notes. Yeah, it was just a fun movie to work on. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, sometimes simple is best, right? I think
Yeah.
some of the most effective themes in history have been pretty simple in their construction, but just so amazing and memorable. Congratulations. I have one more final closing question for all of you, and then I think we'll be out of time and need to sign off. But Ching-Shan, we'll start with you since we've just watched your work. I'm curious for everyone what you feel you learned from this project, or if there was any particular challenge during the creation of the score that you're proud of for solving.
I oh sorry.
No.
I think for me the challenge, well, like I mentioned before, the challenge was to find my own sound, and and what else?
Do
I
you
just feel
feel like
like
you got closer to that through this process?
oh, definitely. I And I think it was also before this, I was doing like short films in school, and then I started doing additional music. So this was the first time that I started learning how to really communicate with directors and producers and all that on a bigger scale. And I think I've learned to be a better team player. Because it's like it takes a village to finish the whole thing. And then also like in the indie film world, I've learned that I can really be creative. Like we don't really have crazy deadlines like studio films, and we could really explore. And this was my first time that I could spend some more time exploring. So I think that I really want to continue doing that in the future.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Raashi, I'll come to you.
Hi. Like the biggest challenge. Well, with a nice Indian boy, the film ends on a big musical number, and it's a pre-existing song. And I basically had to arrange that song so that it would still sound cohesive with the rest of the score. And also, I was brought in pre-production because they had to choreograph this arrangement. So it was really like trying to figure out like the puzzle piece of, okay, the script says this, okay, it can only be 2 minutes. okay, this is like 8 beats. Like, okay, he walks over. This is going to be 2 bars. This is going to be, it was like very planned out based on just reading the script. And so figuring that out and sending it over to the director and then the choreographer, that was like a whole process in pre-production. And then we wanted to make sure it just sounded like it was all part of the same movie. So I arranged it with the strings and like the percussion that I used in the score on top of the stems that I got from the vocalist who sent over all his stems. So I think that was like the hardest part is, how to make song and score sound as cohesive as possible when ending the film on this like big crescendo. But that's the fun part, like where we have to be problem solvers. So, it was like a math puzzle.
Yeah, it's making my brain hurt thinking about it, but that's very impressive. Well done. Sara Trevino, what about you?
A couple things. One, I was working with Lasse Hallström, who directed Cider House Rules and What's Eating Gilbert Grape and Chocolat. And so I was following in the footsteps of some major giants that he's worked with, like, Rachel Portman, Despois, Tom Newman. So I was like, okay, no big deal. So it was getting over that, I had work to do in a short deadline, so I didn't have time to freak out. I was just like, write what you love, and that's it. You got hired for this job, you can do it. Really, like Raashi said, like, it's a problem. I'm going to figure it out. I'll get it done. It's going to be. I'll trust ourselves as artists. Like we have done projects before. We've climbed mountains we never thought we could climb, and so just trusting that I've done it before and I can do it again. And then also, the director was between Sweden and New York. The producer was in New Zealand and the other producer was in Spain. So I had to coordinate. So I'm doing everything, right? I had no music editor. I had no assistant, except for like doing pre-records, but I did everything. So I was scheduling their time zones and mine, trying to do music playbacks over Zoom. The director was just getting used to some of the tech. So it was like, what I have to do what he's comfortable with. And so it was a lot of coordinating time zones and tech and trying to make sure it worked. And everyone wanted to hear everything. So I had to make time for it, which is good. But yeah, that was also interesting. But I did it. I was like, yeah.
Well, and also on the note of trusting yourself, you're all nominated for an SCL award, guys. So you clearly did something really well. Freya, we'll move on to you.
I think I had timeline changes, which meant that so I spent a chunk of time on the film and I had sort of worked on a lot of the themes. And I think just being experienced meant that I knew that, things change all the time. I'm literally in a time crunch right now and it's exactly the same problem. So what I try and do is help my future self. So I had written a lot of the themes and then we had to sort of pause while the edit changed again. And I came back and I had to finish everything in a month, and it was kind of wild. I delivered another feature the month after that, so it was just like a crazy chunk of time. But I think it is that thing of relying on your instincts and knowing that they'll lead you in the right direction. And I think sometimes instinctive writing is the best. Well, I think it's always the best thing that you do anyway. So trusting that you've got that in you. And I think, just preparing myself, knowing that stuff would change, and it just happens every time. Like I feel like when I prepare and I help my future self, it pays off every time. So it was a matter of making sure that I had everything I needed thematically and then being able to just put it together in like the right kind of linear way when it came to having locked picture. So it's always a challenge. Puzzle pieces.
Amazing. Sometimes I feel like the file organization is like half the job.
Oh my gosh, it's so important.
100%. Amazing. Sara, Barone.
Yeah, so I would say for this one, I don't know, I felt very blessed with in terms of the logistics of the process and the collaboration with the director. Like we did have a good amount of time and it was really lovely working with her. And I guess we had a very limited budget, so we had to record everything ourselves, but I think that really served the score in the end, being able to experiment and find happy accidents in the studio here. But I think the challenge was really just finding the most impactful way to tell this story, which is really nuanced and really subtle. And there's a lot of mystery and it unfolds in a really kind of slow burn way with like you're slowly peeling the onion, So I think it was, the kind of coming up with the thematic framework that I was talking about earlier, and also knowing, when to be more present musically and when to pull back. And I think one thing that we did, which was kind of a bold choice, I think, in the film was there's a section in the center of the film that's a flashback, and that's when we learn about our Danny, our protagonist's backstory of essentially sexual abuse from her uncle. And that whole section is really, the acting is amazing, and we really thought that there didn't need to be music there, so we pulled back fully for like several minutes of that flashback, which I think was a really powerful, choice that the director really encouraged as well. And so I think just the challenge mainly was just finding a way to sort of tell this nuanced story in a manner that felt the most powerful, and felt like it grew in the end. I think having a really thematic approach like this made it so that the ending felt like things were really coming together. Everything that you'd been hearing teased in different ways and played on different instruments earlier was kind of like interlocking. So
You
I think that was
certainly
kind of,
succeeded, I'd say, in telling the story in an effective way. So well done.
thank
And
you.
finally, Dara.
Yeah, I mean, it was as I said before, I don't do a lot of dramas. So, and the project I had finished right before this one was Ironheart, and there were just so many notes all the time. And now I got here, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna hang out on this chord for a little bit. So like I had to calm my brain down a little bit, and also like make sure, not saying that the other things weren't intentional, but making sure every note that I chose was very intentional, because I only had so many of them. I can't, and it's not pounded on with a lot of percussion and synth and all those things. So it's like it's taking. I think, like a lot of people were saying, it's kind of like just taking and trusting your ideas, and being okay that there are only 6 people playing this thing, and that will make it more effective. So yeah, I think it was just getting getting your feet wetter in a category that
Yeah.
in a genre that you don't play around with as much.
Amazing. Listen, thank you so much to all of you for being here today. It's been so inspiring and just so beautiful to watch all of this work and to listen to all of this amazing music. I'm wishing you all so much luck in the upcoming ceremony, but just the fact that you're nominated is truly, truly amazing. And at the end of the day, I think that's, such an important step also in everyone's career, and to receive that recognition that you're doing something right, and to stick with your instincts, like you say, and to trust that you're here for a reason. You deserve to be in the room as much as everybody else. So yeah, I'm rooting for each and every one of you. Khan, I know you have a hard out in 30 seconds, so I'm going to leave it at that. But thank you very much, and I hope to meet you all in person soon enough one day. If
Thank
anybody's
you.
in London, let me know.
Oh, yeah.